Good morning. Live from Santa Barbara, we come together each day to know the truth, live on spiritual principle, and align with universal law. We also come together in community in New Thought Global and Society. We truly believe that when somebody awakens, they have a gift and message to bring to the world. And together, we're awakening the world. So yes, I'm up in Santa Barbara still, but I will be back in Los Angeles next week. I've just come up to kind of get out of the city, get grounded in truth, and have a little bit of time back in my hometown. I was actually born in Santa Barbara, and I lived in Utah for a long time. I raised my son, who is 24, over in Utah, and was going back and forth with clients for years, and have been in Los Angeles for many, many years now. So today we're going to talk about past life regressions, you guys. Okay, so I am so incredibly excited because one thing is today is one of the last live days consistently for a little bit at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And the reason why is because we're launching New Thought Global. We're launching the Spiritual Practitioners Program. We're launching the Ministerial Program, and we will be launching the Doctorate of Divinity program. And so I, of course, have been praying a lot and meditating a lot up here, and kind of looking at the bigger picture of this next year, which is going to be a lot of content because we have to build out even over 1,000 hours of content for the Spiritual Practitioners Program and the Ministerial Program. But what is really near and dear to my heart is what we went over in Society this last week in the group coaching calls, which was all about past life regressions. And for me, past life regressions are probably the most profound part of the work that I did. So what happened was years and years ago, as I began to have my journey after I'd had my stillborn, and I read a lot of books, and I began to meditate, and I began to kind of look at all the different processes within spiritual work. And it was all profound. I love every last drop of expanding consciousness and breaking through the veil and having deities come and going to all different realms in consciousness. But when I came to past life regressions, my entire world changed as I knew it, in that it was one thing to go really ethereal and be able to go anywhere beyond space and time and be able to feel one with everything and be able to experience these things at such a profound level. But when I went into past life regressions, what happened is I began to go back into these times, and I didn't know anything about history. I didn't like history in school. I don't know anything about history. I'm very naive when it comes to all that. But I would go into these past life regressions, and I would be able to know exactly what people were wearing. I would be able to say the date that was happening, and I would come out of the session and I would begin to research, and it was exactly what was happening in history, and it blew my mind because I thought, whoa, how much are we able to actually tap into the past life? And what happened also is I had been kind of told through all the transformational work and all the self-development that our trauma from this childhood is really what was, playing into everything going on in our lives, and all the trauma and all of our programming, everything that came from specifically our parents in this lifetime. And after I did my past life regressions, I was like, because I would go back into a past life and I would go into a traumatic incident, and it would be so intense. Everything from going into the Nazi camps to being murdered by a husband in one lifetime, being burnt at the stakes, you name it, you go back in there and you can experience all of it. And I recognized that everything that was going on in this lifetime was mostly impacted by the traumas on my track, on my DNA epigenetic track, my memory that lives inside of me. And so for me, it began to be the most important work. Yes, it's important to expand our consciousness and lighten and get all that good stuff. But when you go back, I truly believe we're here to clear up our DNA, to basically release it. In epigenetics, we recognize now that what happens is, as trauma is going on at a cellular level from this lifetime or past lifetime, it basically condenses your ability to read, the cell's ability to read the DNA, right? So as we release the trauma, it opens up and we're able to have more expression of our genes, which really turns on our conscious, turns on our natural abilities, turns on our superpowers. And so right now in history, this is history, which is a really important time with Black Lives Matters and the pandemic. And I truly believe with my heart of all hearts, coming from being a minister, coming from 25 years of doing profound spiritual awakening work, healing in all the modalities, I truly believe that the core work that we need to do as a culture to reclaim our equality and heal the wounds of, slavery and the inequality and the insanity that's gone on this planet is to do our trauma work in this lifetime, but more even so in past life regression trauma. So yeah, so what's the point? What is past life regression and why do past life regression? So past life regression, I'm sure can be done many different ways, but I have a very specific way that I teach past life regression, and it's built and based off of the E4 trauma method that I developed for trauma in this lifetime, which means if you're doing past life regression, you're going to do the same thing. So the E4 trauma method has 4 steps to it, okay? Number 1 is to experience. So we're going to go back to a time without evaluating it, without talking about it as if it's happening in the past. We're going to experience it as if it's happening right now, because in spirit world, we don't know the difference between now or the past. The psyche, the subconscious doesn't know what happened back then versus now. It just knows the trauma. It knows the imprinting now, okay? So number 1, we want to experience. We call it reverie, we call it re-experiencing, you can call it whatever you want, okay? Number 2 is evaluation. No evaluation, no backstory, no meaning around it. You want to simply experience it, okay? So number 3 is emotions. You want to feel and express all the emotions, because what we resist persists. The only way that trauma can stay on your track is if you are resisting it or putting a meaning around it that recreates the trauma, right? And then number 4 is enlightenment. What did you decide? What limited beliefs did you decide about yourself? What limited identity did you take on? What limited beliefs did you believe about the world and people and life, okay? And that's where we look at new possibility as well, right? So the 4 steps again for E4 trauma method in past life regressions is the same. Number 1 is experience it, fully experiencing it as if it's happening now. Number 2 is evaluation, no backstory, no meaning around it, right? Number 3 is emotions. You want to fully feel the emotions. You want to fully experience it, express them, and neutralize them, okay? And then number 4 is enlightenment, which means you're looking to see what limited beliefs did you decide? What did you decide? What identity did you take on through that trauma? Did you decide you're not lovable? Did you decide that life is awful? Did you decide you don't want to live? What did you decide that has been playing out like puppet strings through all of your lives, okay? So what happens is we do the trauma work in this lifetime and we get to that core pain that we all have, that core suffering. And then to go into past life regressions, we go through what Einstein said is our greatest faculty. We go through the imagination. Imagination is our greatest faculty. So often when I'm working with a client that's ready to go to past life, and I don't promote past lives for people. It's usually something they're interested in, and it's something that comes up in consciousness, and then we go there. So when you touch into the hardest, most traumatic thing you've done in your life, and you begin to complete that, and you still haven't felt completed, then we go to earlier similar, and it's usually in a past life. So kind of one of the ways you can do this is you can pretend like you are writing a script, right? So you write a script for your life, and you imagine the lifetime right here and now, and everything you've gone through, and the suffering and everything. And then you're going to write a script and go back to an incident in a past life and pull it up and begin to just imagine and feel the emotions around it. Because it doesn't even matter if it happened or didn't happen. What matters is the emotions around the mental pictures of what you're picking up. Because the work is to neutralize those emotions and spot what you decided out of those and what you want to re-declare for yourself, okay? So for example, let's just pretend that there's somebody who is going through a lot of trauma in this lifetime. Not a lot of trauma, they've gone through some trauma in this lifetime, but they have this kind of, like they just don't really want to live that much in this lifetime. They're just kind of not into this lifetime. They kind of feel apathetic or hopeless or something like that. And when they go back to a past life, for example, there's an incident, a client where they lost their whole family. They lost their entire family in a traumatic incident. And they just constantly feel, and they decided in that incident back in a past life that no one stays around, that life is awful basically, and that they're always going to be divided. And so it was projecting into this lifetime. It was just kind of this apathetic life around this. And as we began to neutralize that past life experience, that past life trauma, then it began to bring the life force back, and she was able to declare that she wanted to live right here, right now. She decided she was going to live fully, and that life is eternal, and that life also is this dynamic thing, and she fully chose to live in this lifetime, declaring that she's going to give herself fully to life, just declaring that right here, right now, that she gives herself fully, that love is something that is eternal and that doesn't ever go away, and that there is this beautiful playground that we get to play on, okay? So the point is that if you want to free yourself up in this lifetime, if you want to have extraordinary relationships, if you want to really enjoy life without feeling like you're weighted down from something heavy inside of you, you don't know even where it's coming from, you've got to do your past life regressions. You've got to go in there and neutralize your DNA, okay? So could you do that through, say, meditation? Possibly. You could possibly meditate for 20 years and begin to really neutralize everything within your soul. But I found with clients that it's very rapid to go into past life regressions and neutralize those charges that is impinging upon the DNA and not allowing yourself to fully read the DNA, okay? So it is an incredible, profound experience being able to deliver and being able to receive past life regressions. And so this is my invitation. I have been training the ambassadors in past life regressions. And if you're somebody that would like to experience past life regressions, I invite you to do one of two things. I invite you to reach out, and I can refer you to one of the ambassadors. I no longer do past life regressions one-on-one unless I work with somebody who, I only work with people about 100,000 and up for one-on-one. I don't really take one-on-ones anymore. But I do have incredible ambassadors that I've been training and that really know this work. So you can reach out to me about that. And then also, or if you are interested in becoming trained in being able to do past life regressions, I highly recommend that you check out the certification program of a spiritual coach through Society. Okay, so on that note, you guys, we will not be having a live tomorrow, and we probably won't be having, I'll be doing live still, but just not every single morning at 9 a.m. because we're going to be developing the spiritual practitioner program and the ministerial program. So what I know for sure is that past lives are now, right now, right now. So let's take a deep breath in through the nose and exhaling out. Inhaling again through the nose and exhaling out. And I recognize that there is only now, that there's only now. Any of the trauma that has gone on in Black Lives Matter, any of the trauma that's gone on your track, anyone's track, I recognize that it's now, that the trauma doesn't know yesterday. It doesn't know the future. It just knows now. And anywhere that you're not feeling fully expressed, anywhere that you don't feel fully in your oneness or feel fully in your truth in this life, there is work to be done. You deserve it. We all deserve equality. We all deserve to thrive. We deserve to be able to express in free will and freedom of choice. I recognize right here and right now that we are one, that all the past lives are my past life. And as I go down that track, and as I went down that track, I recognize that it is not just one DNA. Our DNA is connected to all DNA. Energetically, we're one, and this is the truth, that all past lives are my life. And I am here to clear my own DNA and the DNA of all. I recognize right here, in bringing this truth and speaking this truth, I recognize there is now and there is a power right now, and I am that power. And I recognize you are that power. You are that divine essence, that power, and together there is a source that has every resource, has every answer. And I know through peace, through innovation, through profound prevailing, I recognize there is a beauty that is had, which is our destiny, which is heaven on earth, which is harmony, which is love, which is grace. I simply know this in my heart, as together we say, and so it is. You guys have a beautiful day. May you live your truth. May you love your life. And if you have not already, please join our free community, because it's only going to be free for so long. Inner Circle. You can go to soulsociety.com, Inner Circle, or you can go to my bio in all the different social media. We do have support group calls from the ambassadors there. We have everything from sisters, Soul Society sisters, to Soul Society gentlemen, to spiritual business support calls, to love and relationship recovery, body image. We also have universal law and science and mind support group call there. So there's so much in there. There's a member site. There is a Facebook group. Get involved. We all need community. We all need to get our mind right. Also, the podcast again yesterday was amazing, you guys. You have to listen to the podcast. It's called How to Handle Negative People and How to Choose Your Inner Circle. You need to listen to that podcast 100 times. You need to share it with your friends, and then you need to listen to it again, okay? So have a beautiful day, and may you live your truth.